Hi, friends and neighbors. This is Jenny Kepler. I am running for the Greater Hilltop Area Commission. Um, but first and foremost, I'm a Hilltop historian and resident. Um, I have to get this off my chest. This has been driving me nuts for weeks. I've literally started and deleted about 30 videos trying to get this out. Um, but I'm just going to do it because it needs to be said. So the last few months, actually probably the last few years, um, we've been tackling a lot of big things here on the hilltop, right? With drugs and prostitution, with blight, with graffiti, with crime, with all the different factors, trash, 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 trash. And the big habit in our discussion forums as of late has been trying to seek who to blame. Who is to blame for all of this? Where is so and so? Well, if it's not the mayor, it's city council. If it's not city council, it's the commission. If it's not the Republicans, it's definitely the Democrats. If we had more policing, it's just I I'm so over the blame game right now because it's not constructive. And to be quite frank with you, I have watched this scenario go on and on and on my entire life here on the hilltop. I have. I, One of the things I don't think that everybody knows or understands is that um, I grew up in the thick of the 80s when the Greater Hilltop Area Commission was being created, when all these civic groups started getting really involved in things. I've watched what all the same actions that are happening right now in our community, the on civic wise, as far as volunteering goes, as far as cleanups go, going to meetings and whatever. I've watched all of this over and over and over and over again. I am living, it feels like, in the hilltop version of Groundhog Day because we keep doing the same things over and over and over and over again. One of the things that has prompted me to run for the commission is because I want us to find some different path to making the hilltop better. And let me explain this. So, and I'll try to do it somewhat quick. The seeds of our deterioration in the hilltop were actually planted like a century ago with segregation. Yes, segregation. I know. For those of you who get all kinds of panicky the minute anybody mentions anything about racism or discrimination, just stick with me for a second. East of Hague, there was a small section of the community where black people were allowed to live. And once Westgate and the lodge opened up, a lot of folks who originally all lived east of Hague, surrounding this tiny spot where people of color lived, there was like a mass exodus to Westgate. Mass exodus. So when that exodus came, with it were the politicians, all the movers and shakers, all the folks who had the greatest influence downtown. Then the Depression hit. And during the Great Depression, there was a federal program to refinance homes so that people didn't go into foreclosure. They created these maps that laid out who was worthy of receiving mortgage refinancing help. And on those maps, they solidified this opinion that the neighborhood where the black people lived and the immediate area around it were high risk and they weren't worthy of investment. This helped to solidify the same opinions that people hold today. This helped to create this myth And not just on the Hilltop. This happened all over the country. This is a phenomenon that hit all, Columbus, all the major cities of our nation. This solidified the opinion, the very mistaken opinion, that black neighborhoods are bad and they weren't worth investing. So schools in these neighborhoods were underfunded. Infrastructure repair was underfunded or just completely left to its own, left to disintegrate. They got less trash pickup. They didn't have any beautification projects like what the city does automatically for nicer neighborhoods. All of these things worked in tandem to help create rot and deterioration of our community. And because none of that was ever addressed, nobody has gone back and refreshed our infrastructure, renovated these streets, fixed the curbs that are all now eroded. If you go down North Ogden, if you go down any of the older streets east of Hague, you will find that they're either still brick, the same old brick from over 100 years ago, or they're sloppily paved over and now they don't drain properly when it rains. This is what happens for neighborhoods where the general consensus is that that you suck and that you don't deserve nice things. This is what has happened for decades. Drugs started appearing in the 60s and the 70s. We had biker gangs up here, kids. Like, they blocked off my entire neighborhood in the late 70s when my brother and I were little, one day, trying to rouse some guy out of his house. We've had drug issues on the Hilltop for 30, 40 years now. This is not new. It may be new for folks who are living off of Sullivan, but this isn't new. And P.S., the police didn't come when we called them. Back then, long before the protests, we never had enough cops. So guess what happened in the 80s? In the 80s, mental health care funding was yanked out from under the communities at the federal and state level. This led to greater problems with addiction, because addiction usually has a root in mental illness. This led to an increase in homelessness, which is something that we absolutely deal with here on the Hilltop. We have big honking problems that need to be addressed now. And because they've been left neglected for decades. If you want to blame it blame things on administrations, one thing I came across. So you talk about the alleys being terrible. You talk about all the trash. You show all your trash pictures. Oh, look at this mountain of trash in this alley. Look right behind me. You see that pile of papers on my little coffee table there? Those are old West Side messengers from one of the folks who created the Greater Hilltop Area Commission, and who was incredibly active in trying to make the Hilltop better. Amongst all of those belongings, those are messengers from between 1981 and 86. Amongst all these belongings are a bunch of pictures, and about 20% of these boxes and boxes of pictures I received, pictures of trash from east of Hague. During the 80s, Buck Reinhardt came before the commission and said, hey, so we're going to replace your big ugly metal dumpsters that you hate with 300-gallon Rubbermaid dumpsters instead. The commission, which was incredibly active back then, fought tooth and nail to keep people from having to share those big honking dumpsters that end up full 5 minutes after the trash guy comes. And we still got him anyway. Here's the thing, I'm so sick of the blame game, blaming the commission and blaming, who's going to fix this sign and Why aren't the commissioners down here picking up trash? And why, those people that are down there looting and rioting? What you know what? Honestly, our troubles are all of our responsibility, including me, all of us. We are the ones that live here. Nobody's going to have to put up with this but the residents. And if you have not shown up for a cleanup, if you are not showing up to vote in the commission elections or show up to any of their meetings, if you're not participating on any of their committees, if you're not participating in any civic groups, if I see one more post from my beloved Lisa Boggs about how hard it is to find volunteers to help her, I I'm going to stage a protest on Sullivan Avenue, because seriously, there are more people than just the volunteer folk who do show up, Those are the folks that need to be stepping up right now too. It's not it's not productive to keep dividing us. We need to be united in this effort to make everything better. It's going to take every last one of us, Republican or Democrat. It's going to take, east of Hague, west of Hague. It's going to take the folks with a lot of privilege and the folks who have barely two nickels to rub together. It's going to take every last one of us getting involved, volunteering, giving your money to to projects and organizations that make us better, showing up, giving your feedback to City Hall. Contacting code to report these problem properties, contacting the owners of the properties that are being left neglected and vacant and end up being squatter shelters. We all have to do our part. It is not enough to shout down people who are volunteers. It is not enough to blame an entire political party or an entire demographic of people. Their problems are no longer their problems. The problems east of Hague are no longer just their issue. It's our issue. This has been the case from the jump. The folks who migrated from Highland West when Westgate first opened thought out of sight, out of mind. And so they didn't advocate for their old neighborhoods, and we're paying for it now. It's creeping into Westgate. It's creeping into our neighborhood. We find needles on sidewalks. We have drug houses over here. We have issues. And here's the thing too. We're going to have to work with the police. But the police are going to have to work with us too. We need more block watches east of Hague. You can't rely just on Highland West Civic Association to do that for you. You have to get involved. It's going to take every last one of us. And the more that we talk divisively about particular groups or who's not doing what, this is the same tactic we've used for 30, 40 years. Look at where it's gotten us. Nowhere. We have to change tactics. We can't just keep throwing the police on the problem. We have to lobby, and lobby hard, and keep lobbying even after we think that they've paid attention. Hold city council and our mayor's feet to the fire to see things through. You know, the Envision Hilltop plan that looks incredible and I really hope comes through? I hate to break it to you, we've had lots of Hilltop plans in my lifetime, and they've not come through. We're still here. So it's going to take every last one of us to make this work. So I'm sorry. I get a little heated about it. But seriously, having watched folks give unbelievable amounts of time and energy and personal money towards projects to make the Hilltop better, and to see us right back where we are, it gets frustrating as all get out. It's hard. It is. And just so you know, I know I live in Westgate. I know that there are people east of Hague that are uncomfortable with Westgaters running. Listen, whether I'm elected or not, I will totally be involved with the commission. I plan on serving on government legislation and on the community relations committees. Vote for the people that you think are going to represent you. Vote for the people that you think are reasonable and have the skill sets to ask for the things that you need. Vote for the people that are committed to being here. Vote for the folks that you actually have seen do things in our community. And then, once the elections are over, get involved yourself. Attend the meetings. Pay attention to what happens. Get involved in a committee. We need all hands on deck. So, okay, I'm going to hop down off my soapbox now. Have a great day today. Keep your chin up. It's we're going to do this. We have to do this. We have no choice. Getting any worse is not an option. So, talk to you soon, friends. Bye.